Tonight from San Juan, it's semifinal number 2 from the Puerto Rico tip-off. Number 14, Michigan, facing the Seminoles of Florida State, who last night blew away 10th-ranked VCU here in a surprisingly easy victory. Now, yesterday, quarterfinal, Nick Stauskas, one of the best three-point men in the country, on fire against Long Beach State. He had 24. Ian Miller nearly matched him for FSU in their quarterfinal. That was against VCU. He was outstanding with 22 points. So here's the bracket. The winner of this one faces Charlotte in Sunday's championship game on ESPN2. We'll have that for you. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Puerto Rico. Dave O'Brien, along with my partner, Dan Dockich. Great to have you with us. And, Dan, think about what Florida State is on the verge of doing here. They could have back-to-back wins over 2 top 15 opponents after tonight.
It'd be the 2 best wins, I think, in college basketball to this point. It's a fun team. They get up and down the floor. They take it to the rim, and they have a ton of big guys, and those big guys can all play. This is a good team.
Give us a look at the one-on-one. FSU puts the pedal to the metal, don't they?
They did last night. In a more wide-open game, Florida State showed a couple things. The ability to do that, get to the rim and make plays, and a very unselfish Florida State team. They like to get up and down. Michigan is going to try to, in half-court defense, keep it more solid. Not as many traps, just more solid.
To the lineups now for Michigan. Mitch McGary played just 14 minutes against Long Beach State, but FSU is huge. The question is, does McGary play more tonight for Florida State? Miller had the 22 against VCU. That was a career high. We'll see if he can duplicate that coming off the bench. And the size of the Seminoles makes them so hard to handle. 6 players on the roster who are 6'9" or taller. They might be the biggest team in America.
Man, they're big, too. I think McGary plays far more tonight, not only because of the size of Florida State, but it's a big early season game. You know, the one test that Michigan had, they got beat at Iowa State. So here's another opportunity against a team that I believe is going to find itself at some point in the top 25 in Florida State.
Florida State somehow survived 25 turnovers at the hands of the VCU Rams. They won the ball game going away
against a top 10 team in the country.
We're still shaking our heads.
Had them down 30.
Had them down 30 at one point. Pretty amazing. Well, we're underway. Florida State winning the opening tip here in Puerto Rico. Great to have you with us. This might be the one that puts the Seminoles into the top 25. Well, certainly it would. Just how high into the top 25 if they can knock off Michigan. But this is a Michigan team that went to the Final Four, the national championship game last spring. Up top here for Carl White, one of the best players in the ACC, left it short but through the foul. Stauskas hit him on the elbow, so he'll be at the line to shoot 2. John Beilein on his 7th year at Michigan. Does he have the pieces to make it back-to-back Final Fours?
I think he does. I think he can score. His team gets the ball down the floor, and once McGary gets going at full strength, they've got an inside guy that can go get you a double-double, and a big double-double, like 26 and 16 kind of double-double.
A lot of NBA scouts here in Puerto Rico. We count 27. It's the 27 that Dan Dockich knows on a first-name basis.
Always looking for a game.
And Carl White is a man they have come to see, one of many.
You said it, one of many. I mean, Carl White's terrific, but watch number 32, Monte Brandon. I mean, he's 6'7", handles the ball, athletic, long, really a good-looking prospect.
Remember, Michigan hit a tournament record 14 threes in their rout of Long Beach State. 14 out of 30. They were clicking.
And it started right away. A couple threes early. Robinson hit one. And next thing you know, they were off to the races.
Michigan giving it up here. LeVert, who had a very strong game, trying to slice in. Tipped out of play with 7 on the shot clock off Florida State. Leonard Hamilton just recently picked up his 400th career win. Over 200 now at Florida State. He has a really interesting team and maybe the most underrated team in America.
And one of the most underrated coaches in America. I mean, you watch a practice, you watch a shooter on. Leonard Hamilton runs great stuff, terrific drills, really, really into player development.
Might be a case of just everybody missed badly on how good the Seminoles were going to be. Tonight will be the defining test of that.
We're already, with 3 much longer possessions than we had all of last night. Both teams wanted to just go. And this is what Michigan wants. You want to beat them in the half court, and then they'll run on offense.
Wojnarowski nicely done to the other side of that rim to lay it in. And FSU off to a 4-0 start. Wojnarowski, one of 3 7-footers on the Florida State roster. He's the tallest of the 3 at 7'3". Nice fake there, and off the window by Karis LeVert, a 6'6" sophomore, had 20 points against Long Beach.
You know, early in the season, I understand, and I've talked about LeVert being the most improved or one of the most improved players in the country. But one of the reasons LeVert is really good, watch this for the rest of the game. He cuts harder than anybody I've seen to this point in college basketball. He sprints when he cuts.
Getting good position, up and in by Robert Gilchrist at 6'9". We're going to be saying that a lot tonight for Florida State. He's 6'9", he's 7 feet, he's 6'9".
It's one thing to have that size, but it's another thing to use it.
Yeah.
And right there, Gilchrist made a little cut and then just turned around and posted up the much smaller LeVert.
These are athletic bigs. Robinson, the 3rd off target. Florida State has scored over 80 against every single opponent they faced this season, including the number 10 team in the country. So they can score it. They're not just about defense. Wojnarowski, out of the Slovak Republic, gives it up top for Booker. He'll drive it to his right and left it well short. Now it's Michigan to push the tempo. Walton is just a freshman. Stauskas with a 3. Got it. All net on the triple.
Stauskas was talking to Walton the entire way down the floor, and credit Walton, just a freshman. He knew where Stauskas was, enticed the defense, flipped it back. That was a terrific play from a communication standpoint by Stauskas and Walton.
Nick Stauskas, as a freshman, hit 44% from three-point territory.
And he did it right from the get-go. I mean, he was not afraid in Madison Square Garden early in the NIT. He didn't care.
Big rebound by the point guard. Walton Jr. out of the pack with it. As LeVert in the corner, he'll hoist up a 3 and nail it. So here come the 3s again for the Wolverines.
Same thing here, though. Hey, Derek Walton came down the floor with his head up. Again, he drew the defense, made a little nice jump, no-look pass, and not only did he find LeVert, but he put the ball in exactly where LeVert wanted. That was a heck of a 2-play sequence by Derek Walton.
So Michigan jumps into the lead, 8-6. Wojnarowski getting it back to Booker, the point guard. He's a sophomore, driving around Horford. Now gives up the dribble. Back to the 7-footer, and nicely done.
How nice was that? You know, Horford today, and both McGary and Horford yesterday gave up post position way too early. Credit Stan Jones, the assistant coach, and Leonard Hamilton, the head coach at Florida State, with recognizing the soft spot. Throw the ball on the block. Hurts Michigan.
Walton Jr. lets fly. Nails the triple. Another 3.
Said it yesterday, OB. Not a great freshman in the country. This kid, Walton, he's good enough. It just matters him getting his feet going a little bit. He's going to be in the conversation with the great freshmen before the season's over.
Booker dumps it into the corner. Brandon. White slices in and stuffs it in.
Is that a great pass?
Well, we saw a lot of that. What did they have, 11 dunks against VCU?
Hey, they did. I mean, Brandon was going to go skip it to the corner. He saw White, who made a terrific play, sprinting to the rim, and a no-look feed from the 6'7" Brandon.
Stauskas can't connect from right underneath the iron. White's a guy at 6'9" who can put it to the floor. That won't fall. Rebounded away by Michigan. And LeVert wants to get it and go. Back to Walton. And threw that one away. He turns it over to Florida State, and they have numbers at 3-on-1. Booker bouncing for Gilchrist. He got airborne. Brandon can't finish. Has it knocked away. Florida State comes away with it, and a whistle and a foul right there on the baseline.
This is a fun up-and-down game. I mean, this is fun. And you see Walton finds LeVert. Transition, there's going to be a Michigan player in the corner. And then here is a spectacular no-look pass and not a bad finish.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by the Puerto Rico Tourism Company. Live your own star vacation story. Puerto Rico, the All-Star Island. Visit cpuertorico.com.
Back in beautiful San Juan, Puerto Rico for the Tip-Off Classic semifinal. See if Mitch McGary is getting ready to report in. 14 minutes against Long Beach State. 6 points, 4 rebounds. And yep, he's in the ball game now. So this will be his first entry tonight in the semifinal.
The guy he's matched up against, Ojo, number 50, is the only guy that I have seen in 2 years in college basketball makes McGary look little. Ojo is big and played terrific in 15 minutes last night, number 50.
He's 7'1", and he looks like he's cut out of granite. But he's inexperienced at this level. And on the line, they're going to turn it over. So FSU gives it up to Michigan, and the Wolverines have a 1-point lead.
You cannot dribble the ball to the baseline against a good defensive team. You can't throw it to the baseline unless the guy on the baseline has a shot or an absolute quick drive. Throwing it to the baseline against good defense is a cardinal sin.
Zach Irvin also in the ball game for John Beeline. And all the way to the national championship game and a tremendous run. There's a blocking foul on the baseline. And eventually, of course, lost to Louisville 82-76 in the title game. They had that incredible overtime win over Kansas. Who will ever forget the three-pointer from just about half court from Trey Burke?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Unbelievable. He's gone on to the NBA. That one tipped. A collision there and a foul. With 13:34 to go.
Yeah, and that's a foul on McGary, and you got to call that a foul. That's not a referee thing. That is a court thing. That's McGary slipped on the sticker on the court, and he slipped, fell, man tripped over him, so it's a foul. But it's an unfortunate thing. They have these things on the courts.
Well, they're temporary, and they're here for tournaments like this for advertising purposes, and they peel off. They can get in the way sometimes.
They did there.
The ones that say ESPN on never get in the way.
Ever. ESPN knows how to put stickers on courts.
Over the top play. Ojo missed the dunk. Had a great chance to light up the FSU faithful there.
Yeah, I was going to say bad play by McGary.
But that's a foul by Ojo. It's also sending a pretty good message.
Ojo, you come in there. VCU yesterday couldn't get anything done. I was going to say bad play by McGary. Watch, he jumps after a shot he can't get, and it leaves the backside, but then he competes against Ojo, and now as the ball goes down the floor, hey, Derek Walton, this kid is fearless. And he did right there what VCU's guards were not able to do, which is go into Ojo and get fouled. Too many floaters by VCU's guards. And thus against Ojo, and they shot 29% in the process. You
know, he might be fearless, talking about Derek Walton Jr., the freshman out of Harper Woods, Michigan, but we'll find out the next time.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Does he want to go in like that again on Ojo? If he does, we've really got something.
Because Ojo isn't taking a charge.
Made the save there, 7-footer.
You're right, dude. He's inexperienced, but he just finds himself in the right place at the right time. Ojo just knows where to be, when to be there.
He says he has a tremendous attitude. That's what Leonard Henderson loves, the attitude. Jumper is all net, Florida State. They can shoot from outside as well. Ian Miller at 22 against VCU. And so the Seminoles are back in front by 1. Good early pace here for Puerto Rico between Michigan and Florida State. Stauskas up high. Get it back to the point guard. He's on the line. Walton turns it over by stepping on the line. Give you a look at our brackets now. We do have the championship game coming up on Sunday at 6:30 right here on ESPN2. Charlotte is into the championship game. How many coming into this tournament had Charlotte going all the way to the title game?
However many Charlotte fans they brought had Charlotte in the tournament. I'm happy for Alan Major. Alan Major he's a head coach at Charlotte. He was a manager for Gene Cady at Purdue, and then he worked for Thad Matta at Ohio State. He's done a really nice job.
Banked up and in by Carl White as he got the feed on the low block.
Michigan, try not to watch the ball next time Florida State has the basketball. Try to watch underneath the basket. Michigan's doing a lot of switching. And one time Levert, that time Spike Albrecht got caught on a much bigger player.
Albrecht misfiring on the jumper. Comes out into the backcourt, and it was tipped. So it's Michigan ball. Robinson on the baseline with a strong move. Dipsy do no, but stuffed in by McGary.
McGary, like he did last night, coming from the foul line, reading the ball, finding the ball as an offensive rebound.
Turned over by Florida State. They did it 25 times yesterday. They win it right back. Thomas jumps out. He goes in and lays it in.
That's two nice defensive plays by Thomas. 2 possessions ago, he forced a turnover on the right wing, and then he picks off Ostowski's pass.
Both teams shooting it well. You will if you get layups like that. 17-14, Florida State.
Got a hand on it again.
Wojnarowski will return the 7-footer, another 7-footer for FSU. There's Stauskas around and out, not this time. Miller down the lane. What a great adjustment. He laid it up high.
I can finger roll. That was Iceman Craven right there.
It really was. You're dating yourself, but well done.
I had a poster of him sitting on blocks of ice.
Albrecht, the dish into the corner. That's Michigan basketball, but Irvin can't get it to go. And a good look, however.
Yeah, and that's Irvin's shot, too. Great find by Albrecht.
Miller really getting aggressive, and count that basket. They'll go to the line. And one. And Florida State begins to open it up a little bit. They'll be at the line when we come back. And the Seminoles have taken a 21-14 lead on Michigan. Now the big question continues to hang over Puerto Rico. How badly has Florida State been underrated? Very early in this one, but they have a 21-14 lead over the Michigan Wolverines. And again, if Florida State wins this one tonight, that's back-to-back wins over 2 teams ranked in the top 14. Long, long way to go. And Michigan has a whole lot of talent. They start raining threes, they could flip this thing in a hurry.
Yeah, there's no question that Michigan can do that. But just watching Florida State over the last 50 minutes of basketball, there's no question it's a top 25 team, Dave.
Yes. Yep, and I thought that Michigan ran into the same thing against Iowa State.
That's a little different to me because it's at Iowa State and the crowd and the effect of the crowd. This is neutral. 30-point game. Yep. They have VCU down.
But I guess my point is Iowa State jumped into the top 25 after that win.
Yes.
And FSU could do the same thing.
I don't think there's any doubt.
Backdoor cut. There's McGary to slam it down. So well done play out of that timeout.
Yeah, I'll play a lot of teams are using. Michigan cleaned out the right side, put everybody out wide, and just a little 2-man game with McGary and Spike Albrecht. Albrecht delivered it.
Does John Beeline go a lot heavier minutes tonight with McGary?
I don't think there's any doubt.
Gilchrist can't finish it.
Again, there's that switch that they're making in a much bigger Gilchrist against a smaller Levert. Yeah, there's no doubt he goes with McGary more. Right there in the middle of the floor.
Scooped up and in by Albrecht underneath. Another well done, executed play by Michigan.
One of the problems that Leonard Hamilton has had with Ian Miller over his career, he's a super talented kid. He's had some different issues with injury and a little bit of discipline, but that right there, defensively, Ian Miller just totally fell asleep. And he does that occasionally, and Leonard Hamilton's a defensive-minded guy.
Gilchrist to his left, forced that shot. Michigan buckling down on him in the paint. Okara White is going to return for the Seminoles. Irvin lets it fly, but it won't drop. Bojanovsky there for the rebound. Is this a lot better game for Bojanovsky than last night?
Yeah, last night he couldn't play in the game because you had to move in different spots to help your guards break pressure. Now right here, Bojanovsky, this is what he can do. And we saw him on the block earlier. So a half-court setting, half-court sets, much better for him than an up-and-down open pace.
So you called it last night. He picked up a couple of quick fouls, left the game. He didn't return until about 2 minutes left.
It wasn't needed. Not in that game. This game, yes.
Albrecht, drive and swatted away by Gilchrist. 24-18 Florida State.
This is where Mitch McGary plays, right here in the middle of the floor. He rarely goes anywhere other than that. Middle to wing, middle to wing. And he and Spike Albrecht have been doing that since AAU basketball coming out of Gary, Indiana.
McGary will take a seat, get a little breather here. Morgan and Robinson return for the Wolverines. They will put it in play.
Hey, Dave, we saw McGary come out. I had a chance to talk to his dad last night. You know, Mitch wants to play and all that, but you can see he's really wanting to play and was telling the coaches, hey, I'm good. You can always see when a kid shakes his head on the bench.
Like, I want more than 14 minutes.
Yeah, I'm good, coach. And when you say I'm good to your coach, your head naturally goes side to side. I'm good, coach. I'm good. Let me play.
So far, 4 points. He's made both of his shots. Walton to put it in here for the Wolverines, asking for time. He could not get it in, so a timeout. We'll take the break at 8:17 to go. Not many whistles in this one. Isn't that nice?
Thank goodness.
Second semifinal of the day here from Puerto Rico, and the tip-off. Charlotte won the first one over Northeastern. Michigan bringing several hundred fans here, and why not? They're taking some sun in Puerto Rico.
Those are the coaches' wives right there. Even the coaches of Michigan are in sync with their dress.
And the FSU faithful had the chant going right before the game as well. Everybody enjoying it here in San Juan.
Obi, this is the best officiated game I've seen this year. They've called what is a foul, and they've let kids play. This is how you're supposed to officiate this year in college basketball.
How many stoppages in play, not to blame the referees, but how many stoppages in play did we have last night? Morgan can't get it to go close in, and it's tipped out of play. It will be FSU basketball. How about in the first 2 minutes of the second half? I think we had something like 13 stoppages in play.
19 stoppages in 3 minutes.
Unbelievable. Not tonight. 24-18 Florida State. Back in San Juan, just under 8 minutes to go here in the first half. Florida State with a 24-18 lead on Michigan. Dan Dockich and Dave O'Brien with you for the championship match coming up on Sunday. One of these two squads will be in it against Charlotte. Michigan coming in ranked number 14 in the country. Florida State at the moment unranked. Could very well change after the weekend. Miller bouncing here for White. Carl White backing down on Stauskas and knocks it in.
They're going to have to figure that out, Michigan is. Because that was straight isolation. And Carl White is going to be better than anybody Michigan defensively can put on him.
Stauskas hit an early three. Now he'll drive it into the lane and kick for Robinson the third. He can't bury it though.
Dave, that's the guy that's got to play. I mean, Robinson's an All-American. He's going to be a draft choice.
Boy, Miller, lightning quick.
And yeah, you got to play like it. Miller's playing like it. You can be Robinson and you can have all the accolades, or you can be Miller and play to all the accolades. So far this season, Miller's been sensational.
He's a senior now, and he's talked about wanting to play a full season for the first time. They've never had him for 30 games. Stauskas can't find the range. And it's Florida State by 10 early on. There's a bump and a foul before the shot with 6:41 to go as Thomas drew the contact.
Yeah, fundamental of defense is stop the ball, sprint back and stop the ball. The ball never got stopped. It was basically Miller against 5 defenders for Michigan State or for Michigan, and Miller won.
Walton picked up the foul his first. Up top for Booker. Thomas is a guy who can really score too for Florida State.
Well, they have missed Carl White in the post. He just scored. You got to go back to him. I don't care who he's against.
Thomas trying to buy that contact, but no one was going to do that. Walton in the offensive zone. McGary not there for him. And suddenly the Wolverines have gone cold.
You asked about Bojanowski. Well, his length right there against McGary was effective. Now let's see if he can go on the block and get a basket.
Out for Booker instead. To the baseline. Up high, Miller, long one, and he gets the three. And John Beilein has to take a timeout because Florida State has opened up a 31-18 lead.
Those of us that saw him last night aren't surprised, because this is a really good Florida State team, but a freshman's going to get lost here. Watch number 10. He just drifts into the lane and kind of forgets that he's guarding maybe the hottest college basketball player going right now in Ian Miller. It's just a freshman mistake, Dave. You get lost. You got to do something. You got to help, or you got to stay with your man.
And Miller clearly is feeling it.
Oh, man.
Well, the Maui Invitational bracket from the Lahaina Civic Center is Arkansas and Cal, Minnesota and Syracuse, Chaminade and Baylor, and Dayton and Gonzaga. Pretty darn good field. The championship game is coming up on Wednesday at 10 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. Sean McDonough and Jay Billis will have that for you. John Shambi and Jimmy Dykes also there in Maui. So some brilliant announcing will come from the island.
You for the longest time were among that brilliant announcing. I'm so flattered, as is our entire crew, that you begged off of Maui to come hang with us in Puerto Rico.
Wait a minute now. You made it sound like that's in the past tense, though, for a long time. But, boy, those days are over. That ship has sailed. I totally understand. Well, 8.
Puerto Rico's not a bad place to be.
No, it's not. 18 points for Michigan, all they have so far. Florida State with 31. Walton Jr. adds to that total for the Wolverines with a 3, and they needed that.
Yeah, they desperately needed that. You saw McGary make a drive, didn't get it in, and just made a smart play. Didn't force it. Most guys force it when they get offensive rebound. He just found the next guy.
So back to a 10-point game. Approaching 5 minutes before halftime, and just a sloppy pass thrown out of play by Booker.
Pretty good move there by John Beilein. A little triangle action for Florida State. A little baseline runner. Best defender for that was Levert, so he was guarding the runner, and they moved Stauskas onto Ian Miller and got Walton off.
High post for McGary, handing off for Stauskas. And now Levert will set it up under 5 before the break. Into the lane, leaves it off, and a slam by Robinson III. A slick play by the Wolverines.
Great passing by Levert. Last night we saw it, today we see it. He sits down and delivers the ball on time, darn near every time.
So energy and life coming from Michigan as they have answered. 31-23 Florida State. Thomas high off the window, no. Ojo cradles it and fouled by Mitch McGary with 4:14 to go. We go back to that alley-oop by the Wolverines moments ago.
All right. Ball screen coming. Never get beat away from the ball screen, and right there Booker does, and then a nice little shovel scoop lob to the high-flying Robinson. Hopefully that for Michigan, that gets Robinson going. He hasn't done much.
Ojo at the line, the 7'1" sophomore from Nigeria, and this is a process, the art of foul shooting, and he has not mastered it yet. .414 remaining.
The more you watch Ojo, the better and better he looks, and the more you want to root for the kid. I mean, he is a sponge. Like warm-ups, coaches talk to him, his head's always going up and down. It's not going side to side.
Ojo with another one coming. He's certainly come a long way since arriving at the Florida State campus. He makes that one. Got a little bit fortunate, made one of 2. 32-23. Trying to use the screen, slips. He does not turn it over, though, amazingly enough. Now a whistle and a foul. So we'll take the break with 3:56 remaining in the first half, and Florida State with a fairly comfortable lead.
Steve Weissman in studio coming up on the Land Rover halftime report. After a double overtime thriller, New Mexico runs out of gas against UMass. Plus, following our current game, we'll break down an incredible point guard matchup between Indiana and UConn. Seth Greenberg, Bruce Pearl, me and you coming up at the half. Now back to Dave and Dan.
Steve, thank you very much. Florida State, first half quarterfinal last night, shot 58%. They're up to 57% tonight. So they continue to shoot it very well. Ian Miller has 13, and he's 5 for 5 from the field.
He's playing like a senior's supposed to play. Talented kid, but up and down in his career, but you're a senior. That's what you're supposed to do.
Florida State also getting it done in the paint, aren't they? They have 20 of their points in the paint.
Yeah, and Michigan needs to take a little lesson from that because McGary has been open on the block, and they're not throwing it to him. You should throw it to him there. You should throw it to him there.
Robinson stops from 18. LeVert will fire. That glances away. Florida State saves it.
Hey, that's a bad possession because it was clear out of the timeout what John Beilein wanted. He wanted the ball down into Mitch McGary, and quite frankly, nobody on Michigan's team made an effort to do it. McGary made an effort to post.
White slithering in and drops in two. He is good. One of the most versatile players in the ACC.
If I'm here and I'm a scout, and Carl White has raised some eyebrows with me. That is a heck of a move with a nice touch over a help side defender.
Came in averaging about 16 and 6. Walton Jr. to the baseline. McGary with a short-range shot all net.
He's the guy. Yeah, he's going to play. He's not going to be a 14-minute guy. He is the difference. If Michigan's going to win this game, Mitch McGary is going to be the difference. Either scoring or getting the ball and making the play for teammates.
Miller, long range again. That was in and out. McGary knocked the rebound to Stauskas. Here come the Wolverines. The dish for McGary, and nicely done to the other side of the iron.
You can see he's playing with an incredible motor. It's the best he's looked. He's into the game. You know, I think McGary feels for the first time healthy. He just looks the part.
Missed the first 2 games of the season with that lingering back issue. Appears to be over it. The backs are always quirky, aren't they? Booker fires. Too strong. McGary with the rebound.
This is a ridiculously good 2-minute segment by Mitch McGary. He knocked Ojo under the bucket the previous possession. Then he went over Ojo for the rebound after scoring a couple buckets. He's a little winded.
Well, a minute 40 before halftime. Florida State with a 34-27 lead, but it has tightened up. Walton Jr. McGary saved it. LeVert will fire before the buzzer, and that's tipped away.
Look at
now out of play.
Hey, look, unbelievable hustle by Mitch McGary. I mean, you want to be a basketball player, play like this guy. You know, cool is for the club. Just get out and play. You know what I mean? The dude is playing, he's running. This doesn't even do him justice. Sprinting back, he's the first guy to sprint to his teammates. Mitch McGary, that stretch right there, Dave, would be all I would need to know as an NBA scout to say, forget about it. He's my first pick.
8 and 6 so far. And it certainly does look for all the world like he will play significant minutes tonight for the first time this season.
Excited to watch him, truthfully. I love this Florida State team, I do.
Let's give you a look at the Hall of Fame Classic and the bracket. Richmond, North Carolina, Louisville, and Fairfield, and the final coming up Sunday at 1 o'clock on ESPN. That is all part of ESPN's season-long Journey to the Tourney. We come to you tonight from San Juan, Puerto Rico, Florida State, and Michigan. A lot of folks were anticipating maybe a Michigan VCU semifinal, and the 2 teams who came here ranked in the top 25. But Florida State destroyed VCU yesterday, at one point leading by as many as 30 against the number 10 ranked team in the country. Michigan sailed against Long Beach State.
Right now, we've been talking about, well, is Florida State a top 20 team if they win this game? I think this game goes down to the wire and they lose the game in the top 25. Yeah, they've shown no difference between them and Michigan, really.
There's a hand check, a foul before the shot against Michigan. With a minute 15 to go, fouling O'Carroll White. That'll go against Robinson, the third, his first.
Do you think there's a hand signal from like up top here to officials that says, hey, this is too much fun?
We have to put a halt to it?
Yeah, let's call a foul.
There were times I felt like that last night, for sure. In the FSU-VCU game, that'll go the other way. Bojanovsky just lost it.
Bojanovsky, let me put it this way. If Ojo was going to get knocked around by McGary, Bojanovsky had no chance trying to body up Mitch McGary.
So a minute left in the first half. Michigan played very well the last 5 or 6 minutes. Levert with the kick. Walton Jr. around and out. You'll take a very good look.
Yeah, you'll take that shot every time. Sure.
Thomas. Bojanovsky now gives it off to White. 40 seconds before halftime. Florida State's going to have the lead against another top 15 opponent at halftime.
They've got the switch, Dave, that they want. They've got Walton. Okay, because they switched back. Walton was guarding Carl White. He can't do it. Stauski's got back on one.
4 on the shot clock. Miller dead on from 3. Boy, coming out of his hand, it looked gorgeous, didn't it? We were right here.
Yeah, there was no question. Ian Miller lifting up, knocking it in.
He's had a big half with 16 points, and that's coming off the bench. Levert steps back a long one. That would have been a three-pointer, and that's how the first half ends, with Florida State leading by 10 over Michigan. Ian Miller, who blew up for a career-high 22 last night, is well on his way to knocking that out of the park tonight. 37-27, FSU, as we head to the studio for the Land Rover halftime report.
All right, this is the Land Rover halftime report. We start with UMass, New Mexico. It was a good one. Chaz Williams and company in the Charleston Classic semifinals. First half, New Mexico up a couple. Alex Kirk had a career-high 32 points.
32 points, 11 rebounds, 39 minutes. That's a day's work.
And hit the 3 as well. But how about Chaz? One-man fast break, coach.
Chaz Williams brings the ball at you as quick as any guard in the country and can finish.
And he kicks out to Raphael Putney for 3. Game was tied at 61. UMass ended on a 20-4 run. Putney, the exclamation point. UMass goes on to win 81-65, so they move on to the finals of the Charleston Classic. Welcome into the Land Rover halftime report. The voices you heard, the coaches, Seth Greenberg, Bruce Pearl. I'm Steve Weissman. Our current game, a 10-point lead for Florida State. You all called this one before the game. That the Seminoles,
20 minutes left.
We're going to beat the Wolverines right
we're
now.
We're coaches. We're worried right now.
Right now, you're looking good. Coach, last year you said, hey, this offense goes through Trey Burke. For Michigan right now, it's going through Mitch McGary. Came in late, but played well.
Yeah, Mitch McGary is the key to Michigan right now, in my opinion. They've got to get him involved and engaged every possession down the floor. They need to play through him. They cannot play through the point. They need to play through McGary. And you know what? He can make plays off the pass, and we know he can get to the glass.
Seth, would you like to see McGary down the low block a little bit more often? He spends a lot of time up the high post, and I know that's John Beilein's office.
Yeah, it is his offense, and he does a good job of getting to the glass, but...
Well, and a key, as we talked about, is the transition break. I mean, great communication between Derek Walton and Scousses on dribble penetration, back cut, fade, or in this case, circle back.
And then the length of Florida State. Great job of helping on penetration and still having the ability to get out, contest a shot. When you get stops, you can get out in transition. And Ian Miller playing like a senior. 13 points in the first half. More importantly, keeping pressure on the Michigan defense.
Yeah, Coach, you tweeted it. Ian Miller is an X factor. He has been the X factor in this ball game for Florida State. Well, speaking of Florida State, we have some developing news on the situation involving their quarterback, Jameis Winston. The Florida State attorney investigating allegations that Winston sexually assaulted a woman said his office probably will not make a decision on whether to charge the Heisman Trophy candidate with a crime until early next week or even later. Straight ahead here on the Land Rover halftime report, Yogi Ferrell, Shabazz Napier, they're going head-to-head. Who's got the edge? Indiana's taking on UConn. We'll break it down next.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Tyco Integrated Security. Safer, smarter, Tyco. And Heineken. Open your world. Enjoy responsibly. halftime report.
Earlier today in Puerto Rico, Kansas State, Georgetown. This is a loser's bracket game. First half, Georgetown would go out to a 10-0 run. Markel Starks leading the way.
He played a lot better in this game, scoring at the rim and also dishing out 8 assists.
And Georgetown hitting their threes as well. 6 of 13 from deep in this ball game. But they also had a player leading the way.
Devontae Smith-Rivera, 4 for 5 from the three. His ability to make shots opens up the floor for the Hoyas.
The steal, and then Starks lays it in. Georgetown, they respond after their loss to Northeastern, 90-63 the final. Well, what to watch for coming up after our current game, Indiana, UConn, 7 Eastern on ESPN2. It's the championship of the 2K Sports Classic. Both these teams putting undefeated records on the line. UConn's won 4 of its last 5 against the Hoosiers. So looking ahead to this game, what are your keys for Indiana?
When you play against UConn, you've got to do a great job against some spread and some of that ball screen defense because Shabazz Napier, Ryan Boatwright are hard to contain. You also got to do a great job coming out of timeouts. Kevin Ollie is going to call great stuff coming out of timeouts. And then offensively, you got to be able to guard this, penetrate and pitch stuff. Look at Horn's action, the backdoor cut by Sheehy, beautiful feed by Yogi Ferrell, who's got an expanded role on this Indiana basketball team. Again, they clear one side out. You see how the defense is all ball watching. That's the key for Will Sheehy to take advantage of the open area. Back cut really does a nice job working without the basketball. High ball screen on one side of the floor. The backside rotates, and Williams cuts to the basket on penetration rather than taking a tough 2. He gets in for an easy feed.
On the other side, Coach, UConn goes through one man.
For UConn, it's DeAndre Daniels. DeAndre Daniels is a versatile offensive player. He's difficult to defend because he can put it on the floor, finish around the basket. He can catch it in the trail spot, knock down threes. Does a nice job of running the floor. He's a tough matchup. I look for Indiana to try to screen him some. And the matchup at the point guard position between Shabazz Napier and Yogi Ferrell, the winner of that matchup will determine the game because the winner of that matchup will control the tempo of the game. And Noah Vonleh, don't forget about it. They got to keep him off the glass because UConn, they struggle rebounding the ball on the defensive end.
Vonleh, the big freshman for Indiana. UConn only had 3 turnovers in their last win. Coach Kevin Ollie said, you have less than 7 turnovers. Coaches do win sprints, so they owe him about 7 win sprints.
He's in good shape, though.
Our game right now, Mitch McGary coming off the bench with 8 points and 6 rebounds, but not enough as the Wolverines trail by 10 at the half.
This halftime report is presented by Land Rover. Above and beyond. This halftime report is presented by Land Rover. Above and beyond.
A big trade in baseball today. The Cardinals sending David Freese to the Angels in a 4-player deal. Cards also sent reliever Fernando Salas in exchange for outfielder Peter Borges and a prospect. 30-year-old Freese was the MVP of the 2011 NLCS and World Series. He set a major league record with 21 postseason RBI. Earlier today, Charlotte facing off against Northeastern. Winner, of course, will take on either Florida State or Michigan in the Puerto Rico Tip-Off Championship. Second half, Sean Lester. Team was 10 of 17 from 3, and Charlotte would pull away late in this ball game.
What an opportunity for Charlotte to go to the Puerto Rico Tip-Off Classic and be in the championship game. Hats off to Alan Major.
20 points for Lester. Charlotte 86-77. They will face either Florida State or Michigan. That means they could see Ian Miller. Kid's got 16 points right now in the first half for the Seminoles. A 10-point lead for Florida State. Second half next.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Gildan. We make your new favorite activewear, underwear, and socks. Gildan, every thread counts. And Chase Sapphire Preferred, 2 times points on travel and dining at restaurants.
Back for the second half of our second semifinal of the day for Puerto Rico. A 10-point lead for Florida State over Michigan, 37-27. Ian Miller again going off for the Seminoles. He's been hot as a firecracker. Mitch McGary is playing more minutes for Michigan. They need it big time in the second half.
They need Mitch McGary and Glenn Robinson Jr. Glenn Robinson III has not played well, but this kid has. Ian Miller's been the story, but Mitch McGary, All-American with a back problem, has been sensational in this game. Statistics kind of belie his work as they usually do. He's got 8.6 rebounds. I talked to a couple NBA guys out in the lobby at halftime, and they were stunned at how well he passes the ball. And you see his vision right there. So it's going to be McGary and Robinson if Michigan's going to win. And that kid right there, Ian Miller, for Florida State.
Well, he has 16 points heading into the second half. Look at his last 3 games, and now tonight in this half. You put all that together over that span, he's shooting 74% from the field.
Yeah, and so you can take all your wooden watch guys and say, hey, add him to the list.
Stauskas out of the gate, can't connect. Robinson battles for the rebound, and now a tie-up, and Florida State has the possession arrow. So just underway here in the second half. The Seminoles will have it, trying to add to their 10-point lead. Tonight coming on the heels of destroying number 10 VCU here last night.
Last night it was a 12-point lead at half. Leonard Hamilton's crew came out and scored the first 6 of the second half, and the game was over. Michigan.
Carl White a little bit shaken up there.
Michigan needs to make certain that they lock down on defense, because Florida State is the kind of team that can make a quick run on you, and you're in real trouble.
So is Michigan, by the way.
No question about it. Absolutely. No question.
They could knock back 3 or 4 threes in a row and turn it around very quickly. We've seen them do it many times. Brandon White spinning, and a blocking foul. They're going to get McGary for this one. John Beilein is beside himself on that call. He is livid with it.
I will say this. McGary was there for a long time. Like, he's there right now. I have no idea how that's not a change. You got to give the official, he just missed the call. That's all.
Second foul on McGary.
A lot easier to say an official just missed the call sitting here than it is when you're coaching.
Miller misfires. He hasn't done that very often lately.
Just throw the ball to McGary.
Instead, it's Walton. He'll back it out.
Don't complicate winning, Dave. Mitch McGary with the ball at 12 feet in the middle of the floor is a good thing.
Aaron pass. Here comes Carl White to drive it on McGary. Can't finish. McGary really defended that well.
Here he comes on the other side.
Now they give it to him. Tough angle. Can't convert. No foul call. White trying to go around the back to keep it alive. Here's Booker. Trying to penetrate off the window for 2. That's a pretty play.
These are the kind of shots that Florida State, after seeing them for a game and a half, really good at. You know, took contact, kept his chin on the rim, banked it in, floaters.
Yeah, that very much is their game. And the way Miller is shooting it, they're very, very tough to beat, because they can score. They're not trying to beat you 56 to 52.
No, and they used to. That was their thing.
Stauskas, no. He's missed a couple here in the early moments of the second half. White pulls up, knocks down 2.
Do you know how good that is? White is 6'8" in a dead sprint, stops, gathers, and then just goes and flips it in. That was made to look so easy. When you're talking about one of the premier athletes in the world, when you can do it at that size.
McGary kicks for Walton. Gets the shot blocked by Bojanovsky.
That's what I'm talking about, Dave. Start of second half. We saw it last night. Florida State will speed you up.
Now Michigan has really gone cold, haven't they? After shooting it well early, 1 for their last 12. White feeding the 7-footer. Bojanovsky using his body well. Now look at the lead, 43-27.
John Beilein has to get a timeout.
Timeout Michigan. Although John is still livid over the block that was called on McGary. 17-10 to go. FSU starting to roll again against another top 15. 17-10 to go in this semifinal. Florida State feeling very, very good about themselves. Their biggest lead, 16.
Well, and this kid, Akara White, with 27 NBA scouts, has wowed him. This is a heck of a move. Just runs the floor, stops, doesn't charge. He's sprinting right here, catches it, and just has touch enough to feather it in over a 6'7", 6'6" Karis LeVert. Man.
12 points, 6 rebounds, 5 of 7 for White. There are many trends going against the Wolverines right now, and one of the most significant, 1 for their last 12 from three-point land.
It's all jump shots. The kid, again, who's got to get going. Glenn Robinson is, you don't see him. He doesn't do anything.
So far in this game, 1 for 4. He scored 2 points. Tipped up and in.
Stauskas got in there and gets a tip. McGary plays with a band. He's just going to go, and sometimes he looks awkward, but you got to try to make something happen against a very good Florida State team.
43-29. Thomas off for Miller, who has been scalding hot. Shot clock down to 12. It's unusual these days for the Seminoles to wait this long to get a shot in the air. That is not their style. Now down to 5. Booker wants to go one-on-one. The bounce feed picked off by Stauskas.
That was a great, great play by Stauskas. They tried to back cut him early in the possession.
McGary spinning and a shove on that play against Bojanovsky. Stops the clock with 15:58 to go in the semifinal. Florida State leading 43-29 over Michigan. Michigan is connected on only 5 of their last 22 overall shots.
I don't see great cutting out of Michigan. I don't, there's been no inside play. They haven't really thrown the ball to their posts. They need to throw it to that kid right there.
And yet you'd be shocked if they didn't make a significant run.
Stunned. There's no question. Now, we thought VCU was going to make a run last night, and the quickness and the shot making of Florida State pretty good. They got to go to him all night.
McGary.
Go to him, figure it out later.
Drops it to 43-31.
And the reason I say figured out later is exactly what I said earlier, which is he can really pass the ball, and he's a willing passer.
Ojo back in the game. Too strong with that pass, thrown away. Now the Wolverines trying to turn that into something. Robinson in the lane with a nice teardrop shot, and they've cut it down to 10 again.
That's Robinson's game, open court. But he needs to be involved in half-court offense. He's too talented.
Carl White getting set to return for the Seminoles. Gilchrist gets it to the 7-footer Ojo. Just too strong there.
Wow. You don't help on him from the perimeter, and he just went and buried McGary and made a nice shot off glass. When Ojo gets two heels in the lane, there's both feet in the lane is dangerous.
McGary attacking, draws the foul on Ojo. He'll go to the line to shoot a pair here.
Watch where Ojo ends up here. 7 feet tall, 300 pounds, all muscle. Posts up McGary, uses his hips. Watch where he shoots it from. He's got both feet inside the lane. And that's just something you cannot allow. But again, saying you can't allow it and stopping it are two very different things.
McGary, the 6'10 sophomore, native of the state of Indiana, and drops in the first one. Coming off a great NCAA tournament. Now you're beginning to see him, working back to the point where he can play a lot of minutes. But one of the things John Beilein has really had to moderate with him is the cardio aspect of it. He's in practice.
Yeah, he told me that he had 2 practices. And good move by here. Interesting move by John Beilein going to a 2-3 zone. Dave, last night VCU got wore out. They were exhausted, and you never see them. Well,
with them you don't.
With them, you never see VCU exhausted. Well, Michigan getting tired as well, and a nice move.
Ojo again, can't bank it in this time, but a whistle. And a foul on the play with 14:26 to go. So he'll be at the line. Get close to all the action wherever you are with the new Sports Center app. Blazing fast scores, the hottest news and highlights 24/7 via Twitter. You can download the new Sports Center app right now. Now they get McGary for that foul, and that'll be his 3rd. As Ojo drops in the free throw.
By the way, the Sports Center app is not quite to where the Watch ESPN app, which is the greatest invention in the history of inventions, but the Sports Center app is right. It's close.
McGary has to come out of the game with the 3 personals. This is huge for Michigan.
This is huge for Michigan, and again, in beating a dead horse, Glenn Robinson's the guy to watch here. Stauskas is going to take shots, but Robinson has to be a guy that's involved now.
Against that very good Iowa State team, he managed only 12. He attacks, blocked, and a foul.
So quick. Sometimes guys do things, and you're like, why don't they do that all the time? Like, just go. You're actually, when you're really talented, you're actually being selfish if you don't do that.
If you don't play offense like that. If you don't look to score like that.
Yeah, that's selfish. That's like, too cool.
Thomas with the foul. Robinson missing the first. Bojanovsky will return. Ojo will come out for FSU. Florida State with a 12-point lead with 14-12 to go in the semifinal. The winner to take on a surprising Charlotte team. That one tipped on a play. 14-11 to go. They'll keep it on this end.
John Beilein has a ton of plays. You see Leonard Hamilton there. And right now, I'd go right back to Robinson. He missed 2 free throws. You got to keep him engaged.
And for Stauskas. Horford setting the screen. Stauskas gets another screen. Swings it for the freshman who fires. He can't hit it. Rebound tip back to Walton Jr. A tangle and a foul. They're going to get FSU for that personal. So the play getting a little choppy right now on both ends. And a foul will go against Bojanovsky. That'll be his 2nd. 13:48 to go. John Beilein wondering how he can get his team a little bit closer to this most underrated Florida State squad. Stauskas to drive it. Slams it down. Boy, he got to the iron awfully fast, didn't he?
Man.
He's had kind of a quiet night, but he just got noisy.
He got real noisy. What a move by Stauskas, and what a finish.
Timeout, Florida State. 10-point game. This is a 9-3 run by the Wolverines, and they're doing this, the latter part of it, with McGary on the bench.
McGary was the only guy doing that, which was attacking. That was athletic, quick, and definite. I'm not even going to bore you with, well, he's more athletic than you think. I mean, if you've watched college basketball, Stauskas is not just a catch-and-shoot guy. He's a guy with terrific athletic ability, and he can shoot off the bounce. He's a very good basketball player. And his dad's a rock star in Canada, which is even cooler.
That's right, he has a band, or had a band. Is this a Sports Center Top 10 nominee? I would think so.
Da-da-da, da-da-da. I'll put it on the Sports Center app.
Stauskas has added about 16 pounds since the end of last season, so he's stronger. Can hit the three. Everybody in America knows that, but there's so much more to that game. Now
1-3-1 here. This is a signature. This is a signature of John Beilein going way, way back.
Another got airborne off to Booker, over the top, intended for Bojanovsky, tipped out of play by Michigan.
Well, Florida State was really uncomfortable on that possession. Pretty good moves. Interested to see if John Beilein stays with it for the next 14 seconds. Key here is the guy on top. Every pass has to have a hump on it. And a 1-3-1.
Brandon floats it up and in for two. They make a lot of shots like that.
We're talking about great defense. The offense was choppy, and Brandon just goes and makes an unbelievably athletic play.
So every time you think the Seminoles might be ready to cave a little bit, they hit a shot just like that. Robinson passed up the three. The swing for Walton Jr. Nails it. A three-pointer and a big shot for the Wolverines.
Yeah, set up by Robinson. Robinson, 2 out of the last 3 possessions, has driven the basketball, and something good has happened. This double dribble, they missed it.
Michigan playing better right now. McGary on the bench with 3 fouls. Here's Brandon's shot. Got it, a three-pointer.
And that is Derek Walton's cover, but he could not get out, because White just buried him with a screen on the baseline. Good offense once again by Leonard Hamilton's team.
And Brandon, the 6'7" sophomore, with the triple. 51-39. LeVert up top now drives it. Down on the low block, gives it away for 2 and a well-run play.
Hey, Dave, don't you love Brandon, number 32? 6'7". Long arm. You talk about all these other guys that NBA scouts are looking at, but that kid's opened eyes.
At 14 and 11 against VCU, first double-double of his career. Bojanovsky baseline. Miller into the lane. Tough shot. He'll go to the line for 2. And we'll take the timeout with 11:21 to go. Back to a 10-point game. Michigan trailing 51-41 to Florida State. We've talked about the top 25 teams here in San Juan, but how about Charlotte? They're on to the final. Ben Cherry, a big reason why with his three-point range. They can also get it done underneath with guys like Willie Clayton. They won today over Northeastern 86-77. Charlotte surprisingly playing their way into the final on Sunday against the winner of Michigan and Florida State.
Charlotte handled the basketball tonight at the tournament with 17 assists. You know, you handle basketball, you get a hot guy, you got a chance against anybody.
Foul moments ago went against Levert of Michigan to put Brandon at the line. Monte Brandon, good foul shooter. And he'll be shooting 2 here with FSU trying to expand their lead, leading by 10. Top scorer so far in this ball game is Ian Miller of FSU with 16. Stauskas has been held to 7. Walton has 10 for Michigan. And McGary has 11, but he's in foul trouble.
Big miss right there. You know, as a coach, you want to keep it 2 possessions over 10. You know, you want to keep it to 50 if you can, obviously. But when it gets under 10.
Foul by Ojo, trying to bottle up Stauskas, will be at the line here in a moment.
Such a good play by Stauskas. You know, he went away from the ball screen. And when Ojo came, and Ojo doesn't take charges, and nor should he take charges, he goes up and gets you. And he led with his body, Stauskas did. And he wanted contact, didn't really worry about the bucket.
Mitch McGary has returned to the fray. Stauskas rattles into first foul shot to get it back to 10.
You see something developing here for Michigan. Everything off penetration. Stauskas there. Stauskas with a dunk. Earlier, Robinson with a penetration that shrunk the defense. I've got to believe that that's going to be what Michigan's going to do from this possession or this time on. Not settle for jump shots and take it to the rim.
Well, under 11 left here in San Juan. Ojo handing off for Thomas, and he slides again. It's happened several times. This time he gives it up. That's a slippery spot. McGary around the back. It got to Stauskas, and he buries it. The three-pointer. And here comes Michigan.
Hey, those 2 guys, McGary and Stauskas. McGary got tied up. He saw Stauskas, but he couldn't do anything with it. Got caught with the ball, and all it could be was a behind-the-back pass. It worked out perfectly.
That's as close as the Wolverines have been in a while. Miller has been a go-to guy throughout this tournament for FSU. He was terrifically hot in the first half. He drives it here. Got the shot in the air, won't fall. Rebound loose. White and the foul. Okaro White will go to the line.
Now let's watch McGary here. He's coming down the court, and you see Stauskas in the right-hand side of your screen. He's open and screaming for it. McGary was trying to get it. You rarely see the cross-court, behind the back, 2 bounce pass. Look at Okaro White, just goes over Glenn Robinson and gets himself an and one.
And a 3-point play for Okaro White. And again, one of those moments where Florida State was on the verge of maybe starting to cave a little bit. And they get a 3-point play. They've done it throughout the tournament. Off to Urban. Urban, strong drive, a scoop, it rolls in.
Boy, Urban took a shot in the chops from White at the top of the key. Kept his dribble, the freshman out of Indianapolis, who is going to be a sensational scorer, by the way, for Michigan.
Official timeout as Okaro White has to lace up his shoe, and they're also going to mop up a wet spot, 55-48.
Takes a little shot right there. It keeps his dribble alive, and as we said, Michigan has found something by penetration, just going to the rim, penetrate, go to the rim, and don't settle for jump shots. Now on the other end, Michigan's trying to switch it up, man-to-man and some zone.
Well, under 9.5 left in this semifinal. Thomas with a crossover, blocked by McGary, and they get it back. Great stop by the All-American candidate. Long one here, Albrecht got it. A three-pointer. This has turned into a 4-point game. We've been anticipating that run by Michigan all night, and here it is. They've been so cold beyond the three-point line, but they've hit a couple here. Miller zips it to White, working on McGary. He's denied on the low block. Gave it up there, got it back. Can't hit it. The follow won't go. Tipped out. Michigan has it. Albrecht. Hands off for Stauskas. Short range for him, but not there. 55-51. Miller quickly to the other end. He kicks for Brandon. Now a whistle inside with 8:12 to go. And a foul against the Wolverines.
How much fun is this? Watch this block by Mitch McGary. Times it up, meets the ball at the rim, and then we're going on back and forth. Spike Albrecht filling in behind and just drills.
So Brandon will be at the line here for Florida State. McGary has been checking his mouth several times. Seems like everyone's getting hit in the mouth. Robinson picked up the third foul for him tonight. As Brandon sinks that one, Bojanovsky coming back on the floor, along with Gilchrist for Leonard Hamilton.
Yeah, this is a nice move by Leonard Hamilton. You have 8:12 to go. Carl White has been working really hard on both ends of the floor. You get him a break here through the television media timeout, and you can get him back fresh.
Brandon with another one coming. And now the officials will delay it a bit. There may be blood on McGary. So he's going to get that checked. And now they're going to check to see on the foul, to see if they got it right. Michigan started out this second half 0 for 5 from the field. They have hit 9 of their last 11 since then. This is what they're looking at. Official review at the table. One of the things they can go to the monitor to do is find out officially who the foul is on. And it will be on Robinson.
I've said, and I'll continue to say, they ought to sell signage on the backsides of official.
Because they spend so much time there at the monitor.
Every game they go to the monitor. Eat at Joe's or whatever you need to do.
Brandon to shoot. This is the second half shooting against Long Beach State last night and tonight.
Dave, it's time for Ian Miller to get going here. Ian Miller, 16 in the first half, as he scratched in the second half. It's time for him to, even if he takes a bad one, he's got to get going and get more aggressive.
6-point game as we approach 8 minutes left in this semifinal, and it's been a good one. Albrecht has Thomas right with him. They give to McGary and a foul. So he'll be at the line to shoot a pair.
Well, Michigan's come back, and they've come back by going to the rim. You know, you see a three here, that was earlier, but Michigan is attacking, but Spike with a three.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by the Puerto Rico Tourism Company. Live your own star vacation story. Puerto Rico, the all-star island. Visit seepuertorico.com.
Back in San Juan, Puerto Rico, Dan Dockich's personal playground, 57-51. Florida State with the lead. But Michigan has certainly come to life offensively here in the second half.
Yeah, they have, and they've done it by going to the rim and then playing out of that. I thought they got sluggish for a while, relied too much on jump shots. And then I don't know if it was individuals or John Beilein made a point of it, but they started attacking and got themselves in the ballgame.
Bojanovsky fouled McGary right before the break, but he can't connect on the first foul shot. Another one coming for the 6'10 sophomore. 11 for him so far tonight. Perhaps on his way to a double-double, and he drops it in. Playing some serious minutes tonight.
Yeah, you knew that going in. He looked fine yesterday. They held him out. But this game, big test for the Wolverines, and McGary certainly gained.
He could double his minutes from last night. Jumping in, Brandon. Oh, what a tough shot. He lays it in.
You know, too many times in this game, the defender's getting beat away from the ball screen. You have to, as a defender, against a guy like Brandon, make him go to the ball screen. You got help over there. Brandon is too quick, and we saw it right there.
It's been a grow-up tournament for Monte Brandon. It's tough competition, showing what he can do. Batted away, out of play. Florida State will keep it.
You can't get beat away. Look, he goes away from the ball screen, and he is so quick and has such tremendous body control and touch. And you said it, Dave. This is a growing-up tournament for a lot of guys. Brandon probably more than most. See, there you make him go to a ball screen, nothing's happened.
Miller hasn't scored in the second half and still has not after 16 in the first half. Look at McGary down the lane all the way for two. How about that at 6'10"?
The ball.
Yeah.
Step in front of him.
Good luck. Good luck. You do it first.
Nobody wanted to do that. Nobody wanted any part of Mitch McGary barreling down the lane.
That is a runaway locomotive. You want no part of that.
You know what? He handled the ball. He looked pretty good doing it. He put a little half behind the back fake.
Brandon, teardrop. Yes.
How good is he? You know, all these guys that we talk about across the country, and they've all played well, but this kid's got to be in conversations as the most improved player going.
He has a dozen points. LeVert catches, fires, around and out. It was in the cylinder and spun out. 61-54. Maybe a danger zone for Michigan. Brandon again. Rebound tapped away to McGary. Look at him handle the ball again. He's made a round-the-back pass, basically a cross-court pass. He's also taken it end-to-end all by himself. On a low block, batted away. And Michigan will set it up. Urban fires immediately. Rebound knocked right to Florida State.
Urban got fooled. He thought when he turned the corner he was going to have a jump shot. An open jump shot. He had a jump shot, but it wasn't an open jump shot.
Florida State by 7.
And it's a big possession for Florida State. And they got the ball in the right guy's hands.
Miller on McGary. Can't beat him. Bojanovsky can't follow.
You just get the feeling that this is going to go Michigan's way here.
Bounce ahead for Brandon. McGary comes back defensively and he stuffs it on him. Brandon again. That young man, Monte Brandon, has sprung to life here in San Juan. And he has made all the difference so far tonight in this semifinal for the Seminoles. Remember, the Seminoles just absolutely torched VCU last night. Stauskas with a dipsy-do. How about that reverse? We're seeing some high-level play.
Really high level. How about that?
Brandon has scored the last 8 for Florida State. He drives another one in the lane. That's a difficult shot. Following his own miss, tied up on the play, and Michigan has the possession arrow. Well, let's see what they're calling here. Is this going to be a foul instead? Yes, they're pointing at McGary, and that's his 4th on Mitch McGary. Initially ruled a tie-up and a held ball, and then they changed their minds and whistled a foul on McGary.
The guy who had the best view made the call. Ron Grover made the call. He was right there.
Double-double for McGary, who has to step out. 14 and 10. Let's take another look.
Grover called the jump ball, and then he went to the foul. I thought he was calling technical on McGary the way he was pointing at him.
Very quickly changed his mind.
Yeah.
Inside White, blocked in a foul from behind by Horford. To put FSU at the line with 4:17 left. Leading 63 to 56.
That is a terrific inbounds play for late game situation. The ball was taken to the top of the key, and then White just stepped over the defender. And the reason I say late game situations, things are tense, things are tight. You throw the ball inside to a kid like White, he's either going to get a bucket, get a foul, or he's going to get both.
Good foul shooter, 77%.
Look at this, Dave. On the inbounds, watch White right here, right there. He's going to step in, and he's going to step in hard. After the screen, boom, he steps in over the top of LeVert. That's a terrific move by Florida State. Not a great move by me on the telestrator, but a great move by Florida State.
1 of 2 for Carl White, who's approaching 1,000 points in his career at FSU.
This just feels like now a must-have bucket by Michigan.
Robinson trying to get away from White. Jumps into the lane too strong. Rebound batted around. Robinson, he out-hustled everybody for it. Great feed underneath. And Walton, how about that play? Stauskas made a terrific pass.
Hey, Robinson hustled it down, got it to Stauskas. Stauskas was seeing one play ahead, a three-point opportunity.
Ojo with the foul. Fast and furious here down the stretch.
I see an All-American, 6'9", 3 bills. Well, getting his way? I don't think so. You know, sometimes you just tell your kid, discretion the better part of valor.
Keep your teeth.
Yeah. And then on the other end, Brandon over McGary. Heck of a game going on here.
Over Madison Square Garden, Joe Rahan is going to give us 2 of his 20 points for Boston College. It's a big lead right now for the Eagles over Washington, set a lot closer in San Juan.
A lot closer. And I'll tell you what, Stauskas reminds me of a young Dan Dockich.
A young Dan Dockich. I'd pay to see that. 64-58. The Michigan fans whooping it up here in San Juan. Nice strong contingent of Wolverines. And now Michigan will be at the line, trailing 64-58. Walton tried to complete a three-point play.
The guy in the back behind the ladies was, with the most enthusiasm, was Mitch McGary's dad, yelling right there.
Was he really?
Yeah, that was his dad. I love his dad. Tell you what, you think about Mitch McGary and his work ethic. His father has worked 37 years in the steel mills in Burns Harbor, Indiana, outside of Gary. I mean, that's a working guy.
Well, his son has the same ethic on the basketball court, trying to bring Michigan back in this one. Brandon's had a terrific second half. He has 14 points, mishandled by FSU. They cough it up. It goes back to the Wolverines.
Yeah, Booker against the 1-3-1 that John Beilein went to, dribbled the ball to the corner, and you only pass the ball to a corner for a shot against a 1-3-1. Point guard has to know better than that.
Stauskas waited, fired, missed it. McGary battles for the rebound. Booker comes out of there with it.
Yeah, that's a shot you can get any time if you're Michigan. You got to go to the rim.
Booker steps into a long one, drains it. They've made big shots all through this tournament.
Hey, he made up for the turnover right there.
He sure did.
He did.
67-59. Florida State approaching 3 minutes. Robinson wanted McGary, not a good feed. Somehow he came up with it. Stauskas can't hit it. Florida State comes away. Brandon won't wait, traveling with it. He was in too much of a hurry.
Look how fresh Florida State is. This is what we saw last night with VCU. Florida State wore VCU out. I'm not saying they have Michigan wore out, but they have McGary wore out. Actually, I do, Dave. As I'm looking at each of the guys for Michigan, they're breathing heavy.
Well, the Seminoles have that effect.
They do. It's a little stunning, really, because Michigan's a team that can go up and down with you. VCU's a team that plays with more energy than anybody in the country, in my opinion. And Florida State's wore both down.
And Dockage, Dave O'Brien with you from San Juan. Puerto Rico tip-off semifinal. Florida State has led most of the night. Foul here on the baseline. Last time that Michigan had the lead, it was 12-10. Ojanowski will record his 4th foul for Florida State. Stauskas will be at the line. 2:40 to go.
I'm a little surprised that Leonard Hamilton doesn't have Ian Miller in the game here. 2.5 to go. An extra ball handler.
Miller at 16 in the first half. He has not scored in the second half, and he's on the bench right now. And another foul shot for Nick Stauskas, who scored 24 against Long Beach State last night. He makes it a 7-point game. White deep in the corner. Has a size advantage, but he gives it up. Booker now, shot clock at 14 for the Seminoles. They go for the trap, and a whistle here.
Once again, kids, don't throw the ball to the baseline against a 1-3-1. It's a trap area.
They turn it over.
Fake it to the baseline and reverse it.
67-60. Stauskas back for Robinson, a 3. Got it! It's a 4-point game.
Just a little weave action. The third person in the weave was Robinson.
Timeout. 1:46 to go. Florida State takes the quick timeout.
Against man-to-man, Michigan. Little weave, little handoff. Here's a second handoff. Actually, it's going to be, here you go, right back to Robinson. Michigan does a fantastic job of penetrating and then filling in behind. And that's how they got that three. Filling behind every penetration works for Florida State.
1:46 to go. What happens down the stretch?
Well, Michigan's in, if they stay in the 1-3-1, they're in the right zone. You can trap out of a 1-3-1 zone and not give up the basket and not be desperate. So I think for one possession, Michigan's just going to play this straight up, stay in their zone, trap out of it, try to keep the ball on the side. And then, if they get a turnover, if they get a rebound, don't settle for a jump shot unless it's off penetration and kick.
Do you think that Leonard Hamilton will get Ian Miller back in the game here?
I think you'd have to. I think that Ian Miller is the kind of guy that can make a corner shot. If Michigan does go man-to-man, they can play ball screen with him. And he's a senior. He's experienced. Look, minute 46, you got a chance to beat another top 15 team. You better have your seniors in there.
Last 4 possessions, 3 turnovers for the Seminoles. Are we seeing some cracks?
I thought we did. I do. I thought that we saw Booker panic a little bit. Panic isn't always throwing the ball into the 12th row. Sometimes panic is over-dribbling and then throwing it the same side you're dribbling.
So you were right about Ian Miller. He's coming back in.
Has to, and if they get bogged up against man-to-man, don't be surprised to see Miller take it late in the clock off a high ball screen.
1:46 to go here in San Juan. Michigan has the possession arrow. And a 4-point lead for the Seminoles, trying to hang on here and beat not only a top 25 but a top 15 opponent in back-to-back nights.
1-3-1 for Michigan.
Miller gave up the dribble. Booker loses his dribble off to White.
What a play by LeVert. How's that?
Foul on Brandon as he tried to tie up Robinson to stop the clock at 1:28 to go.
This is a great play. Top of the zone, we said earlier, most important. Look at number 23. Just watch 23. He defends now. He comes in from behind and gets the strip, and a really bad foul by Brandon. Clock stops, got a chance to go, make it a 2-point game.
1-1 for Michigan. Timeout. 67-63. Michigan will be at the line. And Robinson, a good foul shooter, will be the man at the strike. Look at our bracket now. Charlotte has played into the final. And a championship game here on ESPN2 on Sunday at 6:30. So Charlotte, surprisingly, is awaiting the winner of this one between Michigan and Florida State.
Yeah, good for Alan Major. He's trying to get Charlotte going, and he's got them going in a national tournament to start the year. Great crowd.
It's been lively. It's been very festive. Well, it's Puerto Rico. It should be. With the shirts we're wearing, you kidding me?
Sure.
Minute 28 to go.
I've never wore a shirt. I've wore a shirt like this, but I've never wore a shirt with flowers on it.
I think you look stunning.
I think the two of us, we may have to go clubbing tonight.
Oh, my good. Well, of course, we have tomorrow off. Sunday is the final.
I don't know if I've ever been. You get bottle service and VIP seats. I know you do, especially in Boston.
It would be a shame in this shirt if you weren't seen somewhere tonight.
TMZ.
After hours. Robinson to shoot 70% at the line for the season. And another one coming for him. He makes this one, and it becomes a 2-point game.
This 1-3-1 zone, last 3 possessions, very good. John Beilein, I'm guessing, will stay in it. Florida State get the ball to the middle and look to the corner for 3. Ian Miller in one of the corners.
67-65. It has not been this close in ages.
They're staying 1-3-1.
Booker and by up in a foul. That'll go against LeVert, the 6'6" sophomore.
Dave, that's just an unnecessary play.
I think John Beilein is saying the exact same thing. So it'll be Booker at the line. 3 fouls on LeVert. Booker with 5 points and 3 assists, the point guard for Florida State. And the first one falls in.
That came out of his hand. Ugly. Dead left. And he found the rim. Inside of the rim.
Back up to a 3-point lead. Who will be the difference maker here in the last 1:22 in San Juan? Gets them both.
Great second snap on his wrist by Booker. If you're Michigan, you got to play everything off of penetration. Shoot a 3 off penetration, fine, but everything's got to be off penetration.
Robinson setting the screen. Walton Jr.
Gotta get a timeout here for John Beeman. Not getting any movement.
1:02 left. Off to Stauskas. He drives right. Tough shot. McGary with the rebound. Hesitates. Can't finish. Tips it. No. Rebound free. McGary saved it. Stauskas draws the foul. Foul by Booker. Right here on the side with 48.3 to go.
What a play by McGary. Look, in a month he'll finish this. He's not really ready right now. He'll finish it with his right hand, but he doesn't. Look at the hustle. And he knew exactly where Stauskas was, so he gives it a backhand with his offhand and results in 2 free throws.
And so it is Stauskas at the line, makes the first. Andrew Dockich among those on the bench, trying to will the Michigan Wolverines for a come-from-behind victory, and Stauskas makes 2. 69-67.
If you're Michigan, you don't foul like you did last time. You just don't. If you're Florida State, you set a high ball screen and you look to penetrate the 2 gaps, and the shots will come from either the corner or the opposite wing.
Brandon Bojanovsky.
Opposite wing's open right here. Miller will get into the defense.
Shot clock at 15. Game clock at 26. Miller. Shot clock down to 7. Booker fires. Too strong. Michigan with the rebound. 2-point game. John Beilein says timeout. 11.1 seconds left. 69-67. Timeout Wolverines.
Booker ends up taking the shot. And it was a decent shot, but man, Miller's got to be more involved now. 11.5 seconds to go. You're going to see a ball screen. It just becomes who Michigan wants to shoot it. You know, Miller's way out. You see the ball's going to be reversed, and Booker's going to have a shot, but I think that's the guy you want. You'd rather the other way. You'd rather Miller be shooting the shot and Booker with the penetration.
I'll tell you, the guy they really wanted to have take that shot was a guy by the name of Michael Snares, not around anymore.
That's right.
He graduated. He had 4 game-winning shots last year alone. He was Mr. Clutch throughout his career. Now we turn to Michigan, and who takes the shot for the Wolverines out of their time?
I think you're going to come with a 2-man game. I would guess Stauskas and McGary with the side ball screen. McGary comes off, or excuse me, Stauskas comes off. McGary dives. You look for McGary, or you look Stauskas with a shot or penetration. You have a chance for 3 passes around the perimeter minimum. You can do more. You can make a ton of passes with 11 seconds to go. But I think it's going to be Stauskas with the ball and playing on the side with McGary.
Look at that. Michigan last led in the game when it was 12-10. It has been a long, long time for John Beilein's team since they have been out in front on Florida State in this one. Michigan played for the national championship last year. Florida State didn't even get into the NCAA tournament. But Florida State defeated number 10 VCU. They blew them out last night. At one point they had a 30-point lead. They've had large leads in this one. But now Michigan can tie with a 2. See who takes the shot for the Wolverines.
There's no big guy for Florida State. Now, as a coach, you have to tell your team, look, there's no shot blocker out here. Go to the rim.
Rick gets it into Stauskas.
Here's what we talked about. There you go, two-man game.
He drives it and lays it in. He has tied the game at 69. 4 seconds left. Booker gets it off for Miller. He steps on the line. He stepped on the line. Michigan with 2.2 seconds will have a chance to win it. And a timeout. Stauskas with a big shot to tie.
We've been saying force him to the ball screen. You knew it was going to be Stauskas and McGary. You force the man to the ball screen. You have help. A guy goes away from the ball screen. Stauskas made a great play, not a good play, a great play, reading the defense and attacking the rim. This kid, Stauskas, has been absolutely fantastic. I thought, David, you did the game. I thought he was the best player from Michigan in the Florida State game.
In the Iowa State game.
Iowa State game,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
He had 20 in that game.
Dave, here, now Michigan has this in. McGary top of the key, pinned down for Stauskas, coming to the top of the key. You either look for Stauskas or you make the pass down to McGary.
Here's the big turnover.
He's way up.
Booker trying to get it to Ian Miller, who really shut down in the second half.
So again,
at 16 at the end of the first half. The second half, he has not provided them any offense.
you see where McGary is. Let's see how they run it.
It's LeVert with Bojanovsky standing in front of him. Gets it in. McGary dribbled down, gets the shot up in time, but he can't hit it. And this game is going to overtime. Tied at 69.
Gotta think McGary got fouled, maybe not. You knew McGary was going to be able to get a shot standing at the foul line. He's just big and strong and back there. But Dave, I think the decision by Leonard Hamilton to take out the shot blocker was big on that Stauskas drive. Pretty good defense here by Florida State.
Another look at the McGary shot. He got a pretty good look. Could not bury it. So no game winner there. We go to overtime here in San Juan. So it's been an outstanding college basketball game to this point. And it feels like maybe 5 extra minutes fits. 69 to 69. The right to go on to play for the championship of the Puerto Rico tip-off on the line here tonight.
It's a fun crowd. And you said it's Puerto Rico. Should be fun.
Darn right. So they'll put 5 minutes up on the clock. It did appear at times in the last 10 or 12 minutes that Michigan was beginning to tire out a little bit, but they found a second win.
They did. They found a second win with their defense. And credit John Beilein going to the 1-3-1. And Florida State, 4 turnovers down the stretch.
Stauskas in the second half, 5 out of 11. Made the big shot to tie it out of the timeout. And eventually forcing overtime. Florida State's biggest lead was 16. So Michigan had to fight from 16 down to force it to OT. So here they come back on the court for overtime. Michigan ranked number 14. Florida State is unranked, but that is very likely to change, we both think, regardless of how this game ends.
Yeah, if we had a vote, there are 24 better teams in the country.
No way.
No chance. Why don't we have a vote? Who knows more about this stuff than you and me?
Look at the shirts we're wearing. You give a vote to a man wearing this shirt?
I wouldn't give a ride. I wouldn't do anything. They're comfortable.
They are. And in this weather?
This place, Puerto Rico is awesome. Puerto Rico is the best tournament. Love it.
Well, we're really enjoying it. I don't know how I caught a cold down here, but I did. 69-69 underway in the overtime. Florida State will have their first crack at it.
The man-to-man.
You've got to believe the Seminoles will try to get something out of Ian Miller in this overtime. They got nothing out of him in the second half. He just went stone cold.
Yeah, and didn't really look to score. I didn't think he was very aggressive in the second half.
Robinson with a jump shot. Yes, all net. And Michigan has their first lead since it was 12-10.
I know we're not supposed to like talking trash. I do. I'm not going to make any bones about it. And I liked what I saw to Robinson right there. He knocked it in, and on the way down the floor, it was all exciting. Started yapping. I love it.
Carl White. Thomas. Batted away by LeVert.
It's a 1-3-1 zone, Dave, and he's getting his hands all over.
McGary, and now White will stuff that in.
McGary blocks the shot, and a Carl White just right there 3 times in that possession. Great hands by Michigan, but they couldn't come up with the basketball because of the quickness of Florida State.
Stauskas way downtown. Yes! With a three-pointer.
Michigan feeling it. Against the 1-3-1, baseline shooter, they have Brandon there. Post up the guard, Walton. Opposite wing shooter.
Michigan with a 3-point lead in overtime. The swing, Bojanovsky banks in 2.
That was really nice. Bojanovsky got in front of McGary. McGary didn't want it fouled. Bojanovsky catch 7-3 on the move, laid it in.
He's had a solid game with 10 points. Stauskas driving it this time, draws the foul. Can I give you the worst prediction anyone will make in college basketball this year? I think Stauskas is going to have a really, really outstanding season. I realize how weak that is, but he is just off to the races.
I mean, he's now just, hey, I'm putting my head down and I'm going. Well, here he hits a 3. The next possession, he just put his head down and went. You talk about a kid feeling it. His dad, and we talked about him being a musician, he had a heavy metal band.
You found out it was a heavy metal band? Nick Stauskas' dad was a rock star. In Canada.
Yes. And it wasn't like Megadeth, but it was something like that, the name of the group. Nick didn't know. I'm like, Nick, what's the name of your dad's group? I don't know. But it was a heavy metal band. I'm going to get it on Air Nation.
Son's becoming a star in college basketball, and that's going to be a charge. That'll be on Brandon, number 3.
Derek Walton, bottom guy in the zone. He's not big enough to block shots, but he gets in position. Now, one of the new rules is you have to be set before the offensive player goes into the shooting motion to get a charge. And that's what Leonard Hamlin is pointing at. Like, hey, that wasn't right. Very, very close call. I think Leonard saw it on the board up top. They did the replay.
That's where he took a look. 75-73 Michigan. Stauskas wants the ball every time and draws the foul. A block against FSU.
Just putting his head down and going.
He's one of the guys you talked about. Look what he's done in the second half. He's just been brilliant. Bojanovsky will pick up his 5th foul. He has fouled out. But Stauskas is one of those guys you talked about. I mean, he'll talk the game, but he can walk it.
Yeah, he'll throw up the 3 goggles. He'll let you know. To me, what I like about that kind of thing is enthusiasm. And Stauskas is a really good athlete. He can shoot the basketball. But that's great. But you combine that with a real enthusiasm for play and a toughness, and you've got a kid that overachieves and plays terrific no matter what the circumstance.
Noted NBA trivia expert and is a huge Miami Heat fan. His coach, John Beeline, had Stauskas studying Ray Allen's ultra-quick release. And in this game, he is putting on a show. 24 points. Make it 25. That's coming off 24 last night.
Back to to the 1-3-1.
Michigan turning the tables, up by 4 here in overtime. Ojo into the game, a dribble down and lays it in.
Nothing you can do. You know, and that's where, if you're going to muscle or out-muscle Mitch McGary, there's nothing nobody's doing. And that was a terrific play by Ojo. Ojo has gotten better right before our eyes, Dave, the last 24 hours.
Stauskas swings the pass for Robinson. Mid-range jumper. Yes, he's starting to catch fire at the right time.
And that's why Michigan is playing much better. You know, for a while it was just McGary. Then it became McGary and Stauskas. Now
Miller gave it up. Ojo, that's a tough shot, but he got it to go.
How about this kid? Right shoulder last possession with the left hand. Right shoulder this possession with a little spinneroonie.
Florida State still fighting tooth and nail. Round the back swing here for Walton. Back to Stauskas. He finds the lane. Went to the left hand and he drew the foul. He's either making a shot or he's going to the foul line.
That's understanding basketball. Don't settle for a jump shot based on how the refs are calling it. Ojo, watch this. Watch this. Right shoulder, left hand. Now let's go to the next possession. This is not easy. A little spinneroonie back to the left shoulder, and he keeps his head and his chin on the rim enough to bank it in. That's sensational.
Carl White fouling Stauskas who can't connect. White's second personal. A 2-point game in overtime with 1:17 to go. So every miss is critical. He makes the second. Michigan by 3.
I just feel like a team that can get a stop is going to win this game. Nobody's gotten a stop.
Really do.
Lavert is close.
Miller gives it up for Thomas. Ojo again. Thomas can't shoot it. Now he'll drive it. The teardrop shot not there. White had the rebound in his fingers, but could not handle it. Big play for the Wolverines.
Leonard Hamilton is furious. He felt like White, after he grabbed the ball, was fouled on the way down.
Walton Jr. pulls it back out, runs a little more clock. 35 seconds to go.
Should be Stauskas and McGary same side.
McGary banks it. No. White with the rebound. 80-77. Brandon in the lane. Not there for him. Walton with the rebound and a foul by Florida State with 14.8 seconds.
Boy, did Michigan get away with one there. John Beeline was yelling 5, which is their man-to-man. He did not want to stay in a 1-3-1 zone. Zone a little easier to get a 3-point shot off. Michigan's kids kind of settled in going back, didn't see it. And luckily for Michigan, Thomas caught the ball in the wing too far out. Had Thomas been really engaged in playing, he'd had a wide open 3.
So the freshman, Derek Walton Jr. out of Harper Woods, Michigan, will be at the line. Early in his career, he's proving to be a good foul shooter. Very, very clean. 81-77.
Three assistant coaches, Jeff Meyer, Bacardi Alexander, two, and the head coach, John Beeline, with 6 hands have been saying 5. So everybody knows this is man.
There's no doubt about it now.
There's none.
What they're going to play.
At least, unless he changes it right now.
82-77. So Michigan closing in on a victory over Florida State, which will be hard-won. They were 16 down. Miller with a long 3. That clangs away. And Levert took a big lunge there and traveled with it. So Florida State will have the basketball with 7.3 to go. And FSU will get Booker, their point guard, back into this thing. And Ojo will step out. for Miller. Yes, a three-pointer. From the corner and a timeout. And it's a 2-point game with 5.1 to go. A big, big shot from that corner by Ian Miller. So we'll take the timeout and be back for the finish in overtime. 5 seconds to go. Ian Miller has cut it to 2. So coming right down to the end here. In fact, we're in overtime, 82-80. Michigan with a 2-point lead. Moments ago, Ian Miller scored his first points in the second half after 16 in the first half.
Yeah, and it was the toughest shot he's had all tournament. Running away from the rim on the right corner and cut a 5-point lead to 2.
So we'll see how the Seminoles play this with 5 seconds to go. On the inbound, he'll have to foul immediately. We're trying to get it in to Walton. He's bottled up and fouled with 3.2 to go.
Plenty of time. 3.2 if Walton misses one of these to get the ball down. The court question for John Beeline is, if Walton makes one, misses one, do you foul? And my answer would be no, because if a guy like Ojo can come in the game and get a tip in, I would rather them have to force up a 3 with 3 seconds to go. Make 2 free throws, game's over.
Ojo on the bench right now with Walton Jr. back to the line. And the freshman misses the first.
Jimmy Beeline has a timeout left. Wouldn't be surprised to see him take it right here.
He will.
Yeah, you have to. You got to get organized now against every scenario.
Well, Florida State with 1 more left. Look at our bracket. Charlotte awaiting the winner. There'll be a day off tomorrow, and then Sunday the final at 6:30 Eastern time on ESPN2. We're actually on Atlantic time. Dan Dockage is often on his own time. Atlantic time will be 7:30 in Puerto Rico. The winner advancing to the championship on Sunday.
You know, Dave, you see Zach Irvin's mom and dad right there, Big Irv. Make the free throw if you're Michigan. And the question becomes, do you foul in the inbounds pass or not? You have to foul, one dribble would be the most, because you don't want to get across half court. You want a long pass and then you foul. If I'm John Beeline, you don't. But what you do is you keep the ball going to the side. You do not let the ball get into the middle of the court. Simply because middle of the court, guys make shots. Running down the sideline, much more difficult to hit one of those running half court kind of shots. If you're Florida State, on the miss, you want to outlet it as deep as you can to Miller or to Booker. and you outlet it to one of these signs here, you can get the ball down to the elbow in 3 seconds. You can get the ball darn near to the rim.
So the freshman back to the line with 3.2 seconds to go. John Beeline wants to get McGary back in the game. Off target there. 2 seconds left. Here's the heave by Thomas. And that's the ball game. Michigan wins it. 82-80 in overtime over Florida State. In a vastly entertaining game.
Yeah, this was a great game. And ACC fans, Florida State's going to come to an arena near you, and this is a darn good basketball team.
Michigan has moved on to the championship matchup on Sunday night here in San Juan.
Yeah, the miss was there, and you'd like to see the ball thrown ahead to Booker right here, where he had a little bit better shot, but 3 seconds, length of the court, not easy.
So it ends in overtime. John Beeline and the Wolverines are moving on to the championship game against Charlotte. We'll have that for you on Sunday here on ESPN2. It goes all the way to overtime, but the Wolverines knock off the Florida State Seminoles. For Dan Dockich, I'm Dave O'Brien. Let's toss it back to the studio. And